Hey, Jonathan Copel here with Michael Pedalino running for school board in Jefferson Parish, District 6. We're going to get to know him, find out why he's running, figure out what's going on in Jefferson Parish. I am, believe it or not, from Jefferson Parish, and I live in St. Tammany now, but that's where I grew up. So this is going to be an interesting interview. Hello, Michael. How you doing?
Jonathan, how you doing? What part in Jefferson Parish did you grow up in?
So I was in the Harvey Marrero area
Okay.
on the West
West
Bank.
Bank.
Yep, that's where I'm
Yeah.
from.
They call it the best bank, people who live there, but people on the East Bank know a little better. So, but
Look, I don't know what's going on the West Bank. I don't know what's happening in Jefferson Parish, but I hope maybe you can fill us in since you're running for school board.
yeah, look, I mean, I've been at this since January. The seat became vacant last last January, so it was myself and nine other applicants that applied, and I was nominated actually by a board member, and a lot of good things were said about me. But long story short, I didn't get the votes to get appointed, so the interim appointee is actually qualified to run against. And I told the board at that time I was going to run and run hard for this seat, and sure enough, I didn't think I'd have to run this hard, but we're doing good nonetheless. So that's where we're at this stage where we are.
So what are some of the main issues affecting the Jefferson Parish public school system, specifically in your area? And if you don't mind, tell the people watching what is District 6 for you? What schools are in District 6, and what is that area?
Yeah, look, thank you for the question. I know you're in St. Tammany, so I'm not sure how big your audience is in Jefferson Parish. So it's the if you think of David Drive and Lafayette Park area east all the way through Severn and Rummel High School, between the corridor of Veterans down to Airline Drive. So it's a nice big rectangle. The schools include my alma mater, East Jefferson High School. The Warrior graduated in '98. Rudolph Mattis, T.H. Harris, Bridgedale Elementary, Phoebe Hurst, Moscona. Those, just to name a few of those.
Wow. And that's a big area right there. So
It's a nice district, nice conservative district too. I mean, the whole transcontinental Bridgedale area, Clearview Parkway, Cleary. No, it's a very nice district, and I got to tell you, Jonathan, just the people that been humbled to meet, just knocking on doors. That's probably the best thing, no matter how this race unfolds. Just for me to build these relationships in the community is it fires me up.
that's awesome. So what have you heard about the school system, things that are happening in the school system, stuff you want to work on, stuff that has caught your attention where you're at? What are some of those things?
No, thank you for the question. My goal is to be the voice of the parents, Jonathan. If you saw in Virginia, there was a groundswell of parents that, got activated and wanted to be more involved in the school system and just be, kind of hold accountability. So as my role as a board member is not to micromanage the superintendent or the principals in each school, nor do I want to. I got a full-time career. I got mouths to feed myself. But at the end of the day, this is not Michael Pedalino saying this. This is all the constituents that I'm knocking on doors. They are concerned about the content and curriculum, which is one of my platforms, is to question and challenge inappropriate content. So that's a main talking point that I'm hearing a lot of. Accountability and transparency. They just want to make sure that these schools are run right. And so far the test scores in this parish are better than others in the state. The superintendent's done a good job on that front. And my goal is to kind of help be a part of the solution and make sure things kind of trend in that right direction.
So speaking of content and curriculum, and I've been involved in St. Tammany Parish. I've been involved in Baton Rouge at the state capitol on some issues concerning that. If you tell a school board member or a superintendent or a principal or anybody on the Bessie board, you say, hey, you guys in the school systems, they're teaching critical race theory, they're teaching liberal gender ideology. They're going to say, well, that's not a part of the curriculum. However, there are teachers all over the state of Louisiana that are taking their class time to promote these crazy topics, like that a boy born with a penis can change and become a girl, and a girl born with a uterus and a vagina can change and become a boy. And they're wanting to say that they can use whatever bathrooms they want. And all of these strange, what I would call social, political ideologies are being promoted in the schools through teachers. And there are some books and there is some subtle mentions of these things in different curriculums. Like I believe in Livingston Parish, there was a book that
Yeah.
painted Marxism and Karl Marx in a positive light. So, given all of this stuff, I mean, what is your take on politics and gender ideology in the schools?
No, look, it's important and it's what people are talking about, as much as, people want to try to dismiss it as, oh, it's not, it's mean and it's this and that. But look, at the end of the day, I'm running on getting back to the basics and common sense. What is that in school? Reading, writing, basic math, just so they could be productive citizens and workforce. And throughout the years, to your point in the question, parents have been working. They've basically bring their kids into school, let their kids, the school system educate their kids while they're going out working and providing for their families. I mean, that's what they've done. That's in the 90s, 2000s. And sure enough, very subvertly, as you well know, a lot of this stuff this content has gotten into the classrooms. So now I think one of the things that's encouraging is COVID has exposed a lot of this with the remote learning. I mean, parents are looking at things. Wait, what? What are you talking about in the classroom? So there's a lot that's now shined on this. So I think there's a web though, Jonathan. It's gonna take a lot of electing one board member like myself, and I'm one seat out of 9. You could have 7 Ron DeSantis's, because I mean this district's made up of Jefferson Parish's 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats. You could have 7 Ron DeSantis's inside the school board, as long as you're inundated with administrators, teachers. It's kind of a tug of war, and the kids are being used as political pawns, which ain't right. So what I'm going to do is I need to activate parents to get even more involved. They need to show up at the meetings. They need to find teachers to go in and try to teach. We need administrators. So it's electing one board member is not going to fix this issue. So the parents need to flood the gates and get involved. So what I would do, I do work well with Jennifer Kerrigan. I'm sure if you know her, Save Our Schools. I signed her pledge to be a voice and be more activated in the legislature. So if I do get elected, I will be in Baton Rouge advocating for things to put check on some of this stuff.
Yeah, a lot of parents want to be involved. A lot of parents want to know what's going on, and they have been working, like you said. So it's been tough because you expect to send your kid to school and they learn whatever they need to learn. And then they come home and you say, what are you talking about?
Right.
Where did you learn this stuff? And of course they learned it at school. And so I think that's great. Wanting to get back to the basics and making sure that the parents are very vocal. I do believe that active board members can be very influential and powerful. So the more active you are, I think the more you can get done. And it's a matter of how much do you want to get involved? Because I mean, you could make it a full-time 24/7 gig, or you could not. I mean, we all have lives, but this is a very important position. And I think that if you go in there and you work hard, you will be able to get a lot done. Sometimes it does just take one very determined person that's willing to put in the work. And I hope that's you. It sounds like it. I heard you have been working hard on your campaign. What are some of the things you have been doing? I know you've been door knocking, and what does that look like?
Yeah, look, I mean, I knew kind of how the stage was set. I mean, the race it's probably the most competitive race out of all the seats. There's 4 board members that's unopposed, and then there's 5 in elections, and I got the most. So there's 4 total. It's myself running against 2 other Republicans. One's the appointed incumbent. There's signs that says reelect, but it's hard to reelect somebody who's never been elected. So it's an appointed incumbent is one Republican, and there's another Republican who's a nice guy as well. And so we're kind of having a good competitive joust of who's going to get to the potential top spot. And there's one Democrat in the race who who's from New York, and knocking on doors saying she's local, and kind of behind a lot of that stuff that we don't need in our school system. And I'll leave it at that. But so it's going to be a competitive race, a potential runoff situation. I'm going to try to hopefully close it out on the 8th, God willing. There's getting a lot of support behind me, but it's going to be it's highly improbable, but not impossible. So but I think we're well positioned to move forward to the next step, Jonathan. I really do. Just the outpouring support, and I've been knocking away since August, 50 doors, 60 doors.
Wow.
Just built out a groundswell of good grassroots support that's neutralizing a lot of the mailers, and I'm not into competing against the billboard and sign battles, but we got enough signs to neutralize So there's a good solid Petalino name recognition in the community, along with word of mouth. Which when you got neighbors talking to neighbors, that's some good momentum we have for us.
Yeah. Wow. So, what are your thoughts on doing a sort of, or bringing in? Obviously, you wouldn't be doing this, but your thoughts on bringing in, say, a third party auditor to assess what's going on in your school system, not just financially, but operationally. If there's discipline issues where kids are out of control, they look at that. They say, okay, what might be causing this? How severe is it? What's going on with teachers? What's going on with bus drivers? What's going on with cafeteria workers and
Sure.
custodians? What are your thoughts on that sort of thing? And do you even think in your area it's necessary to have that extra set of eyes to assess the school system?
Well, there's a major teacher shortage, and talking to some of the teachers, their concerns is obviously the discipline. You can't really, you know, basically at the end of the day, it's frustrating because the we have to have policies to where the parents, and I believe one of the other board members who's from the district kind of touched on having the parents. If your kid does something bad, then we need to upset the parents' day and get them over there so they can get involved. Because at the end of the day, if these kids are not being correctly disciplined as young, little boys and girls, they grow up to be teenagers. And obviously, some of the stuff that's going on in other parishes, that there's no accountability. So that needs to definitely be helped on. If it takes third party people to come take a look at it, if I'm on there, if I'm talking to my other colleagues, my other peers, those are conversations that we need to explore all options at this point, because the teachers are not happy with that particular piece. I mean, and obviously there's a shortage because of it.
Yeah,
One of the reasons.
I would say the teacher shortage is almost 100% to blame. You could pinpoint this. I remember sitting in Baton Rouge, and I want to say it was Sharon Hewitt or somebody, one of the senators had suggested we need a case study and to spend all this money to figure out why do we have a teacher shortage in Louisiana.
Mhm.
I I almost jumped up and said, "How silly is this? Why don't you go talk to 20 teachers from each parish and find out what they're all going to say?" Well, I'll tell you right now, behavior and discipline is one of the biggest problems. And they try to say, "Oh, it's a class management issue." You can't manage kids that know they're going to get away with throwing things at you, getting in fights, biting other kids. It is insane what kids get away with, and it totally inhibits the learning process. And I
It,
don't
there,
I don't
it's
see it getting better. It's not getting any
Yeah,
better.
like I said, we're going into a hurricane with that. And you're right. I mean, and this stuff's been building, the tentacles in this has been building for 25, 30. And we live in a society now where we want instant gratification. I know our conservative side, we want to see change. We want to see, but if people like yourself, myself, and other across the country, it's going to take probably 10 years of this hard work before we see the fruits of our labor. So, for example, these kids can get away with this stuff because they have advocacy groups that are funded, grants that stick up for the bad kids. I would not, let me rephrase. There's no bad kid. Okay. There's behavioral issues. Obviously, so I take that back. Wrong choice of words. But there needs to be accountability for kids that do things to that hurts another good kid. So there needs to be activist groups that want to stick up for the rights of the victims. If you look at what the mama bears are doing, organizations that are rising up across the country, we need more activists to stick up for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I would call them intervention groups almost, where they go in they go into schools and they try to work with students. That's what they do, and they try to prevent kids from getting into trouble and try to curb behavior. I would say there are bad kids, because there are some kids that do some really bad stuff, and to me that says, "Hey, kid, you're bad. Let's figure out why you're being
Right.
bad and why you're doing that."
Why you're being bad, not bad. It's a Christian nature of me. Every kid's an angel in the eyes of God. So, but you're right. There's the environment. It's an environmental phase. That needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree. What happens is you become a product of your environment. And so if there's no intentional effort to improve the environment regularly, it's just going to get worse. And so I think it's really important. And I do agree with you. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It is something that does take time, especially because of these advocate groups. I mean, they protect. A kid could stab another kid, and the perpetrator that did the stabbing might be protected, and they say, oh, he's got a emotional behavioral thing, and you can't do anything about it. And in fact, the victim needs to apologize to the kid that just stabbed it.
Restorative justice. You're talking about the restorative justice circle. I know. Yep. Look, I've served on the board of the charter school. I'm well familiar with that. And a lot of people don't even know it. You're right. And the kid can, hit a kid in the back of the head and just constantly messing with a kid, and they sit in a circle. And it's like, well, you got to understand where the point of view of the one who's punching you, and the kid who got, well, I mean, I got he's hitting me. I just want to go to school to learn, and but I think too, Jonathan, as parents shouldn't participate in that. They have I don't, at the end of the day, that's something that I need to really, really research hard.
Yeah.
And,
well, there's always a reason why kids act out, and it's getting to that root to ultimately curb the behavior, to prevent stuff in the future. Because if you can get to the kids early enough, they won't end up in prison, and they won't end up in the wrong places at the wrong time. So that's why I think the school systems are very important. It's an awesome opportunity to work with young people. So I guess I'm going to ask you, is there anything else you want to add before we close this out?
No, look, I mean, I think we're doing very, very well in this race. Considering the fact they're being outraised and outspent probably 4-1, 5-1 potentially, we're going toe to toe. And any support that your viewers that or anybody that y'all know in Jefferson Parish, votepetalino.com is my website. VOTE as in Paul EDALINO.com. I could always use donations. We're doing well, but always could use more. And I think my goal at the end of the day is just to get back to basics and common sense. Let the emotional learning and stuff belong at home in the parents. And sadly, a lot of parents have outsourced their parental responsibilities onto the school system, which creates a burden in itself. But at the end of the day, school's for school, learning at home, emotional stuff is at home, and let's get these kids back into the workforce. And another thing I'm running on is vocational schools and facilities. Talking to a lot of teachers in Jefferson Parish, the facilities need to be upgraded. There's several schools in the parish that are immaculate, they're pristine, but you have to test to get in there, or you have to win the lottery, and it's not right to those that are left behind. And I get it. There's obviously monies that need to be spent wisely, but there are some things, and I think and we do have some good board members on the board that see that. We have the makings to be a really, really good board, in Jefferson Parish. It's pretty conservative. And there is some dysfunction, and that lies in District 6. That's been since January, and that's why I'm for this seat. So that's it, man. That's it.
All right, Michael Petalino, District 6, Jefferson Parish. Well, appreciate you coming on and talking with me and sharing with people watching a little bit about your campaign and what you're all about and what you're hoping to accomplish on the school board. So this video is going to be up. Please like and share it. It's always going to be here. I hope it really helps you get the word out about your campaign, and I wish you luck. All right.
Thank you. We'll keep you updated. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.